Hi everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with today's video, which is 256, and it has been a lot of fun and it's very colorful and it's got several parts that go to it, but once you get rolling, it really moves. This is a picture from the magazine that's Quilters World, spring of 2025. We are current. It's on page 18. When you look at that picture, that is 60 inches by 24 to go on a tabletop. I have thought too, the way it turns out, it would really make a neat twin bed quilt. So that's another project for another day. So the first thing I want to do is I want to share with you the project that I started to see if I'd like it. And then I want to tell you about the blocks and the materials, and then I want to show you the construction. So just be patient and get ready. This is a lot of fun. The first thing that you want to do is think about your colors. We'll look at the blocks next, but right now we're going to look at the colors. The one thing is you're going to have a background color, and that's 2 yards to do that and that print. All right, then what I did was I picked a dark color that I liked, and I really like this one. And then I said, okay, well, what could I get to go with it? Well, I went through and laid material up there, and I found this gold, and then I found this check, and I said, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know that that's going to work. But then I also had the red that was in the flowers. And I said, well, I'm going to give it a shot because I can make a block and just see what it's going to be. And the one thing I like about this is that the blocks, there are 4 sets of blocks for the top and 4 for the bottom. But you could stop after you had 1 set of blocks or 2 or 3, or if you wanted this to even be longer, like if you wanted to make it for the bed, foot of the bed, you could add another set on it. So it's one of those things that you can grow it or shrink it. Okay, here's mine that I did, as I always call it my sample, but it actually ends up being one of my projects. And then I can give it away for a gift or put it on my Etsy shop or just sit there and look at it myself, or my kids will like it. This one is the full 60 inches by 24 inches. And can you see that blue that I didn't think was going to work? And right next to it is that red. And the one that we're going to do today, when I go back to the workroom, you're going to be surprised at the colors that I got to go together with that. I did not buy any material. I just went back there and I went through the pieces. The strips that you see, I want to make sure I tell you that the strips that are in the blocks are 1.5 inches wide. And what we're going to do is we're going to do one of those strips, and it's going to have 6 pieces to it, and they're going to be the width of the fabric. And after we do that, you're going to find out that you can get 3 of those strips that go in a block. And I know this is weird, but I'm going to show it to you when I get back there. But I thought I didn't want you to miss something, and I didn't want to miss saying something. Okay, and then before we go to the back, there's one more thing I wanted to share with you. Is, I sort of hate to waste material. And what I found was we're going to be making 6.5 inch squares, but we're going to be cutting some of it off. And so if you look at these stacks, this is from the one that's on the floor, the one that we just looked at. These are the stacks that we got. Like when I cut this off, I just went ahead and stitched it once, and then I stitched it again. So when I cut the piece apart, I opened it up and I had a whole block. All of those are the same block. Here's one that's the different and one that's different there. And so off of the set I'm doing now, I'm going to have the same things. And I'm going to give you an idea of where you can cut it so that you'll be doing it as you go. Okay? And then you'll have something that you can play with, whether you make mug rugs to go with your cover, or if you want to make some kind of a protector for your table where you use that ironing board material underneath it to protect it. And a lot of things that you can do. And we're going to work on 4 blocks. The top left-hand corner has got the background and the green. That's 1 block. That's for the corner. Then down at the bottom, there's the one for the corner. And then you'd have that on the other end. And once you get that done, you just set it off to the side and you're ready to move on. Because then what you're going to want to do is work on these pieces that we're going to cut up, that long width of the fabric. And once you get that, then you're going to add a 6.5 inch corner up in the left and a 6.5 corner down in the center. And this is your dark material right here. Now, and if you look at it, it goes 1, 2, 3 blue, and then it's going to have the blue. There's a 1, 2, 3, and the blues right here for each one of them, and that makes the section. And you're going to add this section. You're going to make all your sections, and then you're going to come back and you're going to add this one to this one, and on down until you get to the end. You're going to come back and you're going to do the bottom side the same way, all the way down to the end. And then sew the 2 long pieces together. So the first thing I did was I set up my 4 block directions, because I knew that I was probably going to do this again for you guys. And so I said, I'm not wasting any time. And so these are going to be the corner blocks, block 1 and block 2. And remember, one's at the top and then one's at the bottom. All right. So that said, here is the back. I've changed now. I'm starting because I didn't have enough to start all over with the other color. This is my background. Well, you'll see the colors in just a minute. Here's the black background. And then the background says to take and have a 6.5 inch square. That's your dark print, the one that you started as your main print. And when I turn this over, you're going to laugh because look at that. That's that main one. And here, you're going to be watching the way that you do your diagonal on that 6.5 inch piece. So in this case, it's going to sit right here. You're going to come and stitch on that line that I drew. But here's where I got where I was going to do at the same time. I came back and I went about 1/4 of an inch over and I made another line. You cut off on the okay, now I'm getting myself confused. This is not your cutting line. This is your stitching line. You're going to come out another 1/4. That is true. And you're going to draw another line, and that's going to be, and then you're going to cut between the 2 stitchings that you did. Cut it, and you'll have this big one that stays here. This will be that piece that you're going to have that when you open it up, it's already going to be a half triangle square. It's going to look so neat, okay? And that said, here is my first block for the new one I'm doing. I've got my 6.5 by 12.5. I had my 6.5 inch square, and then I turn it back, and the other part was on here. I stitched. Then I moved over a little bit and stitched so I could cut off. And then here's my block that I got to cut off to put in my pile of scraps that are left over to use. All right, so that would make your block 1. That's a corner, the corner. All right, you're going to make 2 of those. All right, I'm moving over to block 2. I'm keep trying to make sure that you guys can see everything. Oh, hold on a second. There it goes. It's better a little bit. All right. Then block 2 is going to have a finished 6 by 12 block. You're going to make 2 of these. This is going to be your your bottom one, and it's just like the other. You're going to make 2. You're going to start with a 6.5 by 12.5 background color. Then you're going to take your dark color, and there he is. And I've drawn a diagonal, but we're going to go the other direction now, where we went from the left to the right. Now we're going to go from the left down to the right. We're going to stitch on that line. We're going to skip a 1/4 of an inch or a little bit more, and we're going to make another line. That's only if you want to keep the scraps. And then we're going to come and cut in between that. And I'm going to do that on the machine in a minute. And when I get that finished and it's cut apart, there is block 2. And you're going to have 2 of those, 1 for each corner. Okay, these are my colors. There is that funny color you saw that I started with. Then I chose a green, and then I chose another color that's got green in it. But I also repeated the dark on the outside and the green going inside. And there in the center, you only have 1 strip of each color. And this one, that would have been the blue one in the other quilt. This light one is the one that's going to pop. And each one of those pieces is the width of the fabric. Okay, the rest is tucked back behind. Then you take the strips, and there's several ways that you can sew them together. And you do this very carefully and try not to stretch anything. And you can either just start with the first one, add the second, add the third, add the fourth. As you add them, you can go and press it. The other way to do it is to sew 2 together, 2 together, 2 together. Go and press the seam. Don't iron it, but just press it, and then open the seam. Now, I like to open the seam because I'm going to, whether I did it by hand when I finished it or did it on the sewing machine, I don't want to hit those bumps and bust needles or anything. So I just opened them. Then also made them lay really nice and flat. So I'm going to show you one of the finished strips. So then you'd have 40 inches, roughly 40 inches long. And it would be made out of your 6 strips where the 2 darks are on the outside. Your next color, this repeated also. And then you have 2 that are different. So the whole thing is that you've been doing a lot of getting ready. And that really works with this project, instead of trying to pick out a block to do or whatever. All right, so now I've been working on those strips. You can cut 3 12.5-inch pieces from your sewn together strips. And those are going to fit in the next part, all right? So what you're going to need, and this is block 3, and you're going to need, for block 3, you're going to need 1 of your white and 1 of your background. All right, and you're going to need 1 of your strips that's 12.5 inches. You can see that, okay? And the one thing that you need to remember is, whatever your light color is when you're in block 3, that is going to be in the 3rd spot. So you just have to turn your things till you have that where that's in the 3rd spot. And to that 3rd spot, we're going to add the dark at the bottom, going from the right down to the left. And the other piece, which is going to have to go the same way, and I've already cut it. I'm not cut it, but I've made my line through the middle. And if you notice, these are both going to cut the same way. And so whichever one you want to sew first, you flip the other one out of the way. And again, like this one, I know that that's going to be cut off. I put a mark on there for myself. And so once I stitch this line, I come out 1/4 of an inch or more and cut off that top. And stitch that top. I'm ready to cut that off. And then I've got another piece of stuff left over that I have. When you finish that one, because see, that'll be folded back. It'll be out of the way. Then you want to come and sew your bottom part. And you're going to trim off the bottom right corner. And you're going to flip this back. Okay, now just leave that there for right now. And what that took was a 6.5 inch background color, 6.5 dark color, and then a 12.5 inch new multicolor strips put down there. Now, one thing that I did notice is that every once in a while, my strips were too wide. So I must have, something happened when I was sewing. So what I would do was I'd take my ruler and lay it on there, because this block is 6.5 inches. And if the side's sticking out at all, then go back and trim this down to 6.5 inches, because that'll make everything go together when you get ready. I'll pop him back up. And see, this is one of the blocks then that starts the sets that you want to do, because this would be block 1. And that when you decide how long you want yours to be or how short you want it to be. All right, now I'm going to go over to block 4. Okay, block 4 is going to take 2 6.5 inch squares with a diagonal. And it's going to take, I'm going to move those, it's going to take your next 12.5 inch strip collection. But this time, when you get ready to start, you see my pink ticket? This time, you want that light color. You can, if you count from the left, you want it in the 4th position. If you count from the right, you want it in the 3rd position. Whichever way makes it easier, because these are going to come together at a point. All right? And we'll look at that, go back and look at that in a minute. So I'm going to take, and I already have one laid. And there's my diagonal. Now, if you look, you'll notice that this and this are the opposite. Not only do they have, this has the same color on both parts, but these angle up and these angle up to the left. And this one angles up to the left. And get this out of here so it's not confusing. All right, so this one is going to be ready to sew and cut off the extra parts. And I think I had this all set. And this is that block 4 with a piece on the back and the background on the front. And I'm going to move this one out of the way for the minute. I'm going to come up here, start in the block, and go down. That's my stitching line. I actually made those 2.3. I don't know why. I just always think that's going to make them last better. All right, now the part that needs to go, because I don't have thread in here. Let me get my thread in. All right, now I've got it. And I'm going to sew down that line, that diagonal line. Okay, and this side's going to flip up, so this is going to be trimmed off. I'm going to come over I just put my edge against that, and as long as I do the same thing for each one of these that I'm going to cut off, and you put it in the same place, that's going to make it nice for you, because a lot of them you won't have to cut back down. But all we're doing now is making that piece that we can use for another project. And I'm going to come in, and here's my sewing line. Here's my second sewing line, and I'm going to take this, or my wheel cutter, and I'm going to take that off. And that'll already be stitched together, and I won't have to do it. And right there was one. That's my new collection. All right. Then to make the other part of this square, I'm going to come down. I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit for right now. And this is going up the other direction. Alright, and this time I know that I need to take this bottom corner off. So I'm going to come and I'm going to set it just like I did the other one. Go down, there we go. Okay. Taking a stitch up through there. We'll cut between. And then this shows you the way that block 4 is always going to look when you get finished, with your light color in the third position from the right, and then your two top colors. So what I want to do now is just let you have another quick look at these different blocks and their setups and the way the block looks when it's sewn. All right. 1, 2, that's the way it looks. There's stuff left over if you want it. Block 3, after you've made your width of fabric with your 6 pieces, with the 2 darks, the 2 medium, or whatever you choose, and the other 2. Block 3, going in from the left, your light should be in 3. You have the top, you have the bottom. This time it's light and it's dark, and then angles off going upward. And this is 6.5 by 12.5. These are 6.5 squares. These are 1.5 inch strips. Then the fourth one, again, you have a 12.5 inch by 6.5 inch set of strips sewn together that you cut off of those long, that 40-inch piece. And in this one, you take and you have the 2 white colors, your background colors, and they are going, you're going to stitch them up towards the left, cut off the top point, and this one's going to go back, and this one is going to come down, and it's going to make the piece that looks like this. Okay? All right. So we're going to go back to the one that I have finished the top for, and then look again at how these come together. Okay, we're back to the finished one. The top's finished. Here is one of your corners, and at the bottom is your other corner. This piece right through here is a 3. And it's got, you're going to know which one it is because it's got the dark piece in it. And then you remember the last one I did was 4. It's got the 2 light pieces in it. And that makes a set you would sew. So what we do is we lay out all of the pieces and then start sewing those together. And sew that one together. So that would be one set. And if you only wanted it to be that big, then you could come and put your last 2 blocks right there. But let's say you could make it a little longer. So this was 1, 2. I mean, what's 3, 4. This is 3, 4 together. If you wanted to stop there, you could and then do it. And so on as you go through it. And once you get that strip made, that whole top strip, you're going to take and put the bottom strip together. And if you see, you're going to know you're right, because you're going to make this nice box with the 2 darks opposite each other and the lights opposite each other. And then you go down, and when you get that one finished, you press your seams open and you turn them together and then stitch that long strip down the center of it that you have it. So I like looking at this through the camera. It's that bright. It is just so pretty. And here it looks so small, but those are the legs of the table. That's a 5-foot table that I have, or 5 or 6. And you can see how long it is, and realize that 24 inches is wide. But I just really think that would make a cute top for a quilt, especially it's a kid's, and put it on a twin bed or something like that. But this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. Thank you for watching. If I have forgotten anything or think of something you might need to know, I'll add it in the description. And thank you for watching. Please hit subscribe and like.